Many older adults walk every day, try to eat carefully, and still feel that their body is becoming weaker little by little. The legs feel heavier than before, the shoulders stay tight for too long, and even light activity seems to leave behind soreness that lingers longer than it used to. If that sounds familiar, it does not automatically mean that aging is the only reason. In many cases, the real problem is that muscle recovery is no longer keeping up with daily activity. The body may still be moving, but it is not rebuilding as efficiently after movement. That gap between effort and recovery is where fatigue begins to grow. Muscle does not improve during exercise alone. It improves in the recovery period that comes after exercise. Walking, stretching, climbing stairs, carrying groceries, standing up from a chair, and doing light strength work all create small demands on the body. The body responds to those demands by repairing tissue, strengthening muscle fibers, and preparing for the next round of movement. But that repair work requires materials: timing, hydration, rest, and consistent nourishment. When those pieces are missing, the body keeps getting the signal to work, but does not get enough support to recover well. Over time, soreness lasts longer, strength feels less reliable, posture becomes less stable, and confidence in movement begins to fade. A common mistake is to think that eating more protein, in a general sense, will solve everything. Protein is important, but recovery is not only about quantity. It is also about when the protein is eaten, whether the digestive system can handle it comfortably, whether the meal includes other supportive nutrients, whether hydration is good, whether sleep is deep enough, and whether the body receives that nourishment consistently, rather than occasionally. Some people eat meat often and still do not feel stronger. Others eat a more moderate amount but feel more stable, more energetic, and less sore. That difference usually comes from rhythm and usability, not from sheer volume. Signs of poor recovery often show up in ordinary moments. A jar lid becomes harder to open. Standing up from the floor feels less steady. Carrying a bag from the market makes the shoulders or forearms tire too quickly. A short walk that used to feel refreshing now leaves the legs heavy for the rest of the day. Mild exercise creates soreness that lasts for several days, instead of fading within a reasonable time. Sleep does not feel refreshing, and the morning body feels stiff before the day even starts. These are not just random inconveniences. They can be signals that muscle repair is slowing down, and daily activity is starting to outpace recovery. Another important point is that older adults often lose muscle not because they never try, but because their eating pattern stops matching their physical needs. Appetite changes. Digestion becomes more sensitive. Chewing tougher foods becomes less pleasant. Meals become smaller, more repetitive, or less structured. Some people start skipping breakfast. Others rely on bread, soup, noodles, or coffee because those are easy. In that process, protein quality and meal timing quietly become weaker, even if overall food intake seems acceptable. The person may believe they are eating enough because the stomach feels full, yet the muscles are not receiving what they need often enough to rebuild. That is why simple, realistic foods matter more than dramatic solutions. The best recovery foods for older adults are not the ones that sound impressive. They are the ones that are easy to digest, easy to repeat, easy to prepare, and easy to fit into ordinary life. If a food is expensive, complicated, or tiring to prepare, it will not last long as a habit. Muscle maintenance depends on what can be done again and again. The body responds to repetition. A modest food that appears on the table often is more powerful than a perfect meal that appears only once in a while. Before talking about the most useful foods, it helps to understand why recovery often fails. Even when someone is trying hard, one reason is slow or poorly timed intake. A person may eat a large amount later in the day, but miss the more useful recovery window after activity. Another reason is choosing foods based only on the label, or reputation instead of comfort and actual meal pattern. A third reason is forgetting that inflammation matters. When muscles are challenged, some degree of temporary inflammation is part of the process. But when daily life, poor sleep, or unbalanced meals keep the body irritated, recovery slows down. A fourth reason is cutting carbohydrates too aggressively. Muscle recovery still needs energy, not just building blocks. A fifth reason is inconsistent daily rhythm. Late nights, skipped meals, dehydration, and long stretches without nourishment make the body less prepared to repair itself. Now let us focus on 3 practical foods that can support muscle recovery in a realistic way. They are not the only options in the world, but they are among the easiest, most useful, and most repeatable choices for older adults. Each one has a different strength. One is especially convenient and gentle when appetite is low. One helps support both protein intake and a calmer recovery environment. One is highly practical, affordable, and easy to build into daily life. These foods are Greek yogurt, salmon, and eggs. Let us begin with Greek yogurt. Greek yogurt is helpful because it is gentle, simple, and easy to eat when the appetite is low. Many older adults do not feel ready for a heavy meal. Early in the day or after light exercise, chewing may feel tiring. Cooking may feel like a task. On those days, a food that still delivers meaningful nourishment without heaviness becomes very valuable. Greek yogurt is thicker and generally more protein-dense than regular yogurt, and for many people, it feels easier to eat than meat first thing in the morning. It can also fit into a small meal or snack without requiring much preparation. That makes it one of the best bridge foods between activity and full meals. Another advantage of Greek yogurt is that it can support the digestive environment. Recovery is not only about what enters the mouth, but also about what the body can comfortably absorb. When digestion is sluggish, bloating is frequent, or bowel habits are irregular, the body may not make good use of the food being eaten. A gentle protein food that also supports digestive balance can be especially useful. Greek yogurt can be paired with a small amount of berries or a few chopped nuts. That combination can create a more balanced recovery snack without turning into an oversized dessert. The key is moderation. The fruit should not become the main event. And sweetened. Yogurt should not quietly turn into a sugar-heavy treat. A plain or lower sugar option usually works better for long-term use. Greek yogurt is especially helpful after morning walks, light resistance work, or any activity that leaves the body slightly tired, but not ready for a full meal. It can also help people who tend to delay eating for too long after exercise. Many older adults finish activity, drink water or coffee, then wait and wait before eating something meaningful. That long gap can make recovery less efficient. Greek yogurt is not magic, but it is convenient, and convenience matters. A recovery habit that is easy enough to follow on. Tired days is often the habit that changes the body over time. The next food is salmon. Salmon is useful not only because it provides protein, but because it brings a kind of nourishment that can support a calmer recovery environment. Many people dealing with poor recovery are not only short on muscle-building support, they are also dealing with lingering soreness, stiffness, and an overall sense that the body stays inflamed or irritated too long after activity. Salmon can fit well here because it combines substantial protein with a type of fat that can be supportive when the body feels persistently stiff or sore. For people who wake up feeling tight, feel dragged down by longer-lasting aches, or have trouble bouncing back after exercise, fish can sometimes feel easier and more rewarding than relying on heavier meats all the time. Salmon is also practical because it is soft, easy to portion, and relatively easy to prepare. A simple fillet can be baked, pan-cooked, or lightly steamed. It pairs easily with vegetables and a moderate serving of rice or potatoes. It works at lunch or dinner and can fit into a weekly rotation without requiring complicated cooking skills. For people who do not love the stronger taste of some fish, salmon often feels approachable. If salmon is too expensive to buy regularly, other oily fish can play a similar supporting role. The principle matters more than the brand name. The body benefits from a recurring place for fish in the meal pattern, not from perfection. The way salmon is eaten also matters. If it is always paired with sugary drinks, very heavy sauces, or highly processed side dishes, the meal loses some of its clarity. Simpler combinations often work better. Vegetables, rice in sensible portions, mushrooms, steamed greens, tomatoes, or lightly cooked broccoli can all work well. The goal is not to create a restaurant plate. The goal is to create a meal that helps the body feel supported rather than burdened. Recovery is easier when meals are satisfying without being chaotic. The third, and perhaps most practical food, is the egg. Eggs are familiar, affordable, easy to store, and easy to prepare in many forms. That alone makes them powerful. They can be boiled in advance, scrambled quickly, turned into steamed egg, added to soup, or combined with vegetables. They fit breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snacks. They are especially helpful for older adults because they lower the barrier to regular protein intake. A person does not need a perfect appetite or a large kitchen effort to include eggs in the day. A small, reliable food often does more for long-term recovery than a large, idealized meal that is difficult to sustain. Eggs also help because they connect well with other foods. They can be placed beside rice, vegetables, soup, fish, tofu, or yogurt-based meals. This flexibility allows a person to spread protein across the day, rather than placing all of it into one large evening meal. That spreading pattern matters. The body does not use food in a simple all-at-once way. A huge serving late in the day does not fully replace missing protein earlier on. Smaller, repeated opportunities to nourish the muscles are often easier on digestion and more useful for older adults. Eggs make that pattern easier to achieve. A breakfast with eggs usually creates a more stable start than one built only on bread, jam, crackers, or coffee. It supports fullness, reduces the urge for sweet snacks too early, and gives the body a more solid recovery signal at the beginning of the day. For older adults trying to preserve muscle, breakfast matters more than many realize. A skipped breakfast or a protein-empty breakfast can quietly weaken the whole day. By the time lunch arrives, energy may already be unstable, appetite may swing too far, and the body may have gone many hours without meaningful building support. Even 1 or 2 eggs can change that pattern. It is also useful to think about the difference between exercise days and non-exercise days. Many people assume protein only matters right after exercise, or only on days when they are intentionally active. But muscles are not maintained on active days alone. The body is constantly turning over tissue, constantly adapting and constantly relying on nourishment to preserve strength. That means rest days still need care. The body still needs support on days without formal exercise. In fact, regular nourishment on non-exercise days may help create the resilience that makes future movement easier. Another practical lesson is that comfort matters. Older adults often move away from good protein foods not because they do not care, but because the foods become harder to manage. Tough meat is less pleasant to chew. A large meal feels heavy. Cooking for 1 or 2 people feels bothersome. This is where soft, simple forms matter. Steamed eggs, poached fish, yogurt bowls, soft tofu, soups with egg, small fish servings with vegetables, and easy combinations create continuity. Recovery improves when the meal feels possible. The body needs nourishment that fits real life, not theoretical discipline. Meal timing deserves special attention. After activity, many older adults delay eating too long. They get busy, decide to wait until the next meal, or simply do not feel like eating. The problem is that the body is already beginning its repair work. Waiting too long can make recovery less efficient. That does not mean everyone must force down a large meal immediately. It means there should be some bridge. Water first, then something manageable such as Greek yogurt, a boiled egg, a small egg dish, or another gentle protein source, followed later by a fuller meal. Recovery does not need to be dramatic. It needs to be connected. Hydration is another missing piece in many recovery discussions. Protein without enough fluid can leave the body feeling heavy, dry, and uncomfortable. Older adults sometimes drink less than they need, because thirst signals are weaker, because they fear bathroom trips, or because they simply forget. But the body moves nutrients through fluid. Recovery is easier when hydration is steady. Water does not need to be exaggerated into a contest. It simply needs to be present through the day in a dependable way. Sleep matters just as much. Muscles repair in a body that rests. Poor sleep, late bedtimes, repeated waking, and heavy late-night meals all interfere with the rhythm of recovery. Some people focus only on the daytime side of health and forget that the nighttime environment shapes the next morning body. Better recovery often begins with an earlier, calmer evening, less random snacking late at night, and a gentler routine before bed. Food and sleep are partners, not separate departments. Vegetables also deserve a place in this conversation. Protein is the central actor in recovery meals, but vegetables help create a better setting. They support digestion, bring minerals, add color and variety, and often make meals easier to tolerate. Eggs with tomatoes, salmon with broccoli, yogurt with berries, fish with greens, tofu with mushrooms, all of these patterns work because the meal feels complete without becoming excessive. Older adults do not need extreme meal plans. They need balanced meals that the body can live with day after day. Carbohydrates should not be treated like enemies either. Some people become so focused on protein that they start cutting rice, potatoes, or other familiar staples too hard. But recovery still needs energy. If the body receives protein without enough usable fuel, it may feel flat, tired, and undersupported. The answer is balance, not fear. A recovery meal can begin with protein and vegetables, then include a moderate amount of rice or another carbohydrate source. That approach often feels steadier than either overeating, refined starches, or trying to avoid them completely. An especially important idea for older adults is that body weight and muscle status are not the same thing. A person can appear average, or even heavy and still have too little functional muscle. Another person can be thin but still relatively strong. That is why the most meaningful questions are not only about the number on the scale. The better questions are these. Can you rise from a chair comfortably? Can you carry groceries? Can you walk with confidence? Do your legs hold you steadily on stairs? Do your arms still support everyday tasks? Function tells the story more clearly than weight alone. For families helping older parents, meal structure often matters more than lecture. A refrigerator that contains boiled eggs, plain Greek yogurt, easy fish portions, tofu, and a few simple vegetables supports better choices automatically. When good options are visible and easy, they are more likely to be eaten. When every healthy meal requires too much chopping, cooking, or planning, fatigue wins. Health habits do not survive on motivation alone. They survive when the environment makes them easier. It is also useful to create a weekly rhythm instead of reinventing every meal. For example, eggs can anchor breakfast several days a week. Greek yogurt can be the default recovery snack after morning activity. Fish can appear for lunch or dinner a few times each week. Vegetables can be prepared in simple repeated forms. A pattern like that reduces decision fatigue. Older adults often do better with rhythms than with constant novelty. The body likes consistency, and so does daily life. A question many people ask is whether they need expensive protein powders or special supplements. Sometimes those products can be convenient, but they are not the foundation. The foundation is the meal pattern. The body responds to repeated usable nourishment. Supplements cannot fully replace the signal of regular food. Entering a stable routine. Capsules and powders may have a role, but they should not distract from the simple question of whether breakfast contains protein, whether exercise is followed by nourishment, and whether the day includes foods the body can actually handle well. Another common concern is fear of eating too much and gaining unwanted fat. But preserving muscle is not the same as overeating. In fact, regular protein intake paired with walking and modest strength work often helps maintain better body composition and daily function. The goal is not to become bulky. The goal is to remain capable. Strength in older age means independence. It means getting out of bed more easily, walking farther without dread, getting dressed with less struggle, and feeling safer in daily movement. That kind of strength is built quietly. If appetite is poor, start smaller instead of giving up entirely. Half an egg is better than none. A few spoonfuls of yogurt are better than a completely empty recovery window. A small piece of fish still counts. Muscle maintenance does not demand heroic meals. It depends on keeping the chain from breaking. Tiny decisions repeated faithfully can have a larger effect than ambitious plans that fall apart after 2 days. Here is a practical way to think about a recovery day. Start the morning with water and a simple protein-centered breakfast, such as eggs with vegetables and a moderate amount of rice or toast. If there is a walk or light exercise session, follow it with something gentle and useful, such as Greek yogurt or a boiled egg, instead of leaving the body empty for hours. At lunch or dinner, include fish on a regular basis. Keep vegetables present. Do not let the whole day become built around coffee, crackers, bread, or random snacks. Keep the pattern calm, regular, and repeatable. Movement should also be thought of as more than formal exercise. Long stretches of sitting can stiffen the body and reduce the feeling of recovery. Even in people who do one daily walk, standing up more often, doing a few simple heel raises, using a chair for repeated sit-to-stand practice, moving the shoulders through their range, or taking a short second walk later in the day, can all help circulation and keep the body from becoming too idle between meals. Recovery often improves when the body receives both nourishment and gentle repeated movement. Season and weather can influence recovery too. In colder months, the body may feel tighter and warm. Soft meals become more helpful. In hotter months, appetite may fade, making yogurt, eggs, or cooler fish dishes more appealing. The principle stays the same. The form can change. A good recovery plan bends with real life. It does not demand the same exact meal every day of the year. For people managing blood sugar or blood pressure, muscle support is still important. In fact, maintaining muscle can help everyday function and overall metabolic steadiness. The answer is usually not to remove more and more food until the plate becomes empty. The better question is how to protect the important parts of the plate while keeping portions sensible. Protein-centered meals with vegetables and measured carbohydrates often work better than meals built mostly around quick starches or overly restrictive patterns that leave the body weak and unsatisfied. It can help to keep a very simple record for a week or two. Note how stiff the body feels in the morning. Notice how long soreness lasts after activity. Pay attention to how easily you climb stairs. Open containers, carry bags, or recover after an outing. These are real outcomes. They are the language of function. When people track only weight, they miss the more meaningful improvements. Recovery often first appears as steadier energy, lighter legs, easier mornings, and less lingering soreness. If you want an easy 2-week starting framework, keep it simple. During the first week, add protein to breakfast every day, and make sure there is some nourishment after activity instead of a long, empty gap. Include fish a few times during the week. During the second week, continue that breakfast habit. Shorten the delay after movement. Even more, and repeat fish or other supportive protein foods consistently. Do not aim for perfection. Aim for continuity. The body changes through continuity. There is also an emotional side to this subject. When muscles become weaker, people often do not just lose strength. They lose confidence. They start to hesitate before stairs, before long walks, before lifting something, before going out. That hesitation can shrink life. This is why muscle recovery matters so much. It is not about vanity. It is about preserving freedom. The ability to move without fear is part of dignity in older age. Food plays a quiet but important role in protecting that dignity. Let us return to the 3 practical foods. Greek yogurt is a gentle bridge when appetite is low, or when the body needs something simple and quick. Salmon is a supportive main meal option that combines protein with a recovery-friendly profile and fits easily into a balanced plate. Eggs are the daily anchor, the familiar, and highly practical food that can be used almost any time and in many forms. Together, they give older adults a realistic structure for protecting muscle, instead of waiting until weakness becomes severe. At this point, the message is clear. If you walk regularly and still feel that your body keeps getting weaker, do not assume the answer is always more exercise. Sometimes the more urgent answer is better recovery. Better recovery begins with repeated, manageable nourishment. It begins with breakfast that includes protein. It continues with not leaving the body empty after activity. It grows through simple meals that include eggs, yogurt, fish, vegetables, water, and enough rest. None of this is dramatic, yet over time, it can change the entire feeling of daily life. Do not wait for a crisis to start caring about recovery. Do not wait until stairs feel frightening or soreness lasts all week. Open the refrigerator and ask a few honest questions. Are there eggs available? Is there a plain yogurt option? Is there fish in the freezer? Is there a simple plan for tomorrow morning? Health in older age often depends less on hidden secrets and more on what is prepared before fatigue arrives. The easiest good choice is the one already waiting, so begin with one clear action. Boil eggs and keep them ready. Buy plain Greek yogurt and place it where it is easy to see. Prepare fish portions for the week. Add vegetables that are simple to cook. Then connect those foods to the parts of the day that matter most. Breakfast, post-activity recovery, lunch or dinner. Repetition will do the rest. The body remembers consistency. It rewards calm, steady care more than occasional bursts of intensity. Even now, it is not too late. Muscle responds later in life too. It may respond more slowly, and it may demand more patience, but it still responds. Today's meal can support tomorrow's step. This week's pattern can reduce next month's fatigue. A quieter morning, a lighter walk, a steadier rise from the chair, less fear in the legs, these are meaningful victories. They begin not with a miracle, but with a plate. If you have been doing your best and still feel disappointed by your body, do not blame yourself too quickly. You may not need more discipline. You may need a better recovery pattern. Feed the effort you are already making. Support the walks you are already taking. Respect the body by giving it the materials to rebuild. Eggs, Greek yogurt, and salmon are not trendy solutions. They are steady companions for the older body. Start there, stay there, and let recovery become part of the routine, instead of something left to chance. There are several myths that quietly interfere with muscle recovery. In later life, one myth is that soreness always means a workout was effective. and therefore nothing needs to change. In reality, soreness that lingers too long can be a sign that the body is not keeping up with repair. Another myth is that older adults should simply eat less, and less in order to stay healthy. Eating wisely matters, but undereating can slowly reduce strength, stability, and resilience. A third myth is that once muscle is lost in older age, it is gone for good. Progress may not be fast, but the body can still improve when movement and recovery are matched more carefully. Age changes the pace, not the possibility. Another helpful idea is to separate the feeling of fullness from the feeling of nourishment. A meal can feel heavy and still not support recovery well. A person may finish a bowl of noodles, bread with coffee, or soup with very little protein and feel physically full, yet the muscles remain underfed. On the other hand, a smaller meal that includes eggs, fish, yogurt, tofu, and vegetables may feel simpler but provide much more useful support. This is why older adults often benefit from evaluating meals by function rather than by size. The best question is not, did I eat enough volume? The better question is, did I feed the body what it needs to rebuild? For many people, the hardest meals to manage are breakfast and the recovery snack after activity. Those two moments deserve extra preparation. Breakfast shapes the body's tone for the day. The recovery snack or small meal after activity keeps the body from slipping into a long period of undersupport. If those 2 points improve, the entire day often becomes easier. Energy steadies. Appetite becomes more reasonable. Random snacking decreases. The body feels less desperate, and recovery begins to look less like a special event and more like a natural extension of normal living. Families can make a meaningful difference here. If an older parent lives alone, meal decisions may slowly simplify into convenience only. Toast, instant foods, noodles, or simple rice dishes may become the standard because they are easy. Family members often assume a parent is eating well because meals are happening, but the quality of muscle support may have fallen far below what the body needs. Instead of focusing only on medicine or vitamins, it can be far more helpful to look directly at the refrigerator and pantry. Is there simple protein available? Are eggs always in the house? Is yogurt stocked? Is there fish prepared or easy to cook? A supportive home food environment often does more than repeated reminders. Some older adults also develop the habit of saving their appetite for the evening. They eat little in the morning, little at midday, then try to make up for everything later. That pattern can leave the body undernourished for too many hours. It can also lead to poor sleep when large dinners sit heavily in the stomach. A better approach is to distribute support through the day. Morning protein, daytime meals with fish or eggs, and moderate evening nourishment often create a better overall rhythm. Recovery likes rhythm. The body feels safer when support arrives regularly. It is worth mentioning texture again because it is often underestimated. Tough, dry, chewy protein foods may be respectable on paper, but unrealistic in daily life. When chewing is tiring or digestion is sensitive, soft preparation becomes a form of wisdom rather than compromise. Soft boiled eggs, steamed eggs, scrambled eggs, yogurt bowls, gently cooked fish, tofu dishes, and soups enriched with protein all count. They may look humble, but they can be exactly what allows a person to maintain consistency. The body does not award extra points for difficulty. It rewards what it can use. Another barrier is the idea that healthy eating must always feel strict. Recovery eating is not punishment. It is support. It does not ask older adults to live on bland food or tiny portions. It asks for better structure. It asks for protein to appear more reliably. It asks for meals to become calmer and more balanced. It asks for simple foods to be used on purpose. When people shift from a mindset of restriction to a mindset of support, the whole process often feels lighter and more possible. One practical strategy is to create default meals. Default meals reduce decision fatigue. They are not exciting every time, but they are dependable. For example, a default breakfast might be eggs with vegetables and a modest serving of rice or toast. A default post-walk option might be Greek yogurt with a small amount of fruit. A default lunch or dinner might be fish with greens and rice. A default light evening meal might be tofu soup with egg or steamed egg with side vegetables. With default meals in place, health no longer depends on daily inspiration. It depends on a system. Systems are easier to maintain than motivation. People often ask how long it takes to feel a difference. The answer varies, but small signs can appear sooner than expected. Morning stiffness may soften. Soreness may clear more quickly. Energy may dip less sharply in the afternoon. Walking may feel slightly easier. Standing from a chair may require less effort. These are not glamorous changes, but they are deeply meaningful. They are often the first proof that the body is starting to receive and use support more effectively. When such signs appear, they should be valued. They are the beginning of regained trust between the person and the body. It is also important not to compare your body to someone younger, or even to another older adult. Bodies differ in medical history. Appetite, digestion, sleep quality, stress, medication use, and daily activity. What matters is not matching someone else's speed. It is improving your own pattern. If your breakfast becomes stronger than it was last week, that matters. If you stop leaving your body empty after walks, that matters. If you add fish regularly where there was none before, that matters. Progress in later life often comes from honoring the body's actual needs, rather than chasing an idealized standard. There is a final point that deserves emphasis. Muscle recovery is not only about preserving movement. It also supports a person's relationship with daily life. When the body is under-recovered, everything feels heavier. Errands feel longer. Social plans feel more tiring. Household tasks begin to feel like burdens. But when the body feels supported, life opens a little more. There is more willingness to go outside, to visit someone, to stand longer in the kitchen, to clean, to organize, to enjoy the day. This is why food matters so much. It changes not only the body's tissue, but also the reach of a person's life. So do not think of eggs, Greek yogurt, and salmon merely as nutrients. Think of them as tools that help protect the ordinary freedoms of older age. The freedom to walk without dread. The freedom to stand up more easily. The freedom to carry your own bags. The freedom to join family activities. With less fear of being left behind by your own body. Recovery is built in these small freedoms. It begins with what returns to the plate every day. Start there and keep going.